Hi, I'm Antonio Mora. Yogi Berra is among those quoted as saying that it's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. But lots of people are doing just that when it comes to the coronavirus and what it will mean for American society and the U.S. economy. Op-ed pieces, emails I receive, and social media posts I've seen range from apocalyptic to Pollyannish. With all the variables we're facing, the truth is that forecasting what will happen is like me throwing darts. I might hit the bullseye, or I might stick one into the butt of someone who just happened to be walking by. But I'll ignore Berra and my own advice and risk the perils of predicting. When it comes to the economy, I think we are going to face a rocky road for a while. No immediate U or V curves, but repeated lowercase w's that will trend higher, but without major highs or lows beyond what we've already had. Fear, or the lack thereof, will drive everything. What politicians say matters much less than what people do. I'm holding my breath right now as I watch states gradually reopen and see way too many people acting as if we're already back to normal. If COVID-19 case numbers start climbing again and people don't feel safe going to work, schools, shops, hotels, and restaurants, or getting on public transportation and planes, the damage could be irreparable, as both Treasury Secretary Mnuchin and Fed Chairman Powell told the Senate Banking Committee this week. However, caveat number one is the possible big game changers: vaccines and treatments. Would I ask for hydroxychloroquine the second I started feeling sick? Possibly. While studies clearly show it doesn't work for people who are already very sick, it's not clear whether it helps if administered as soon as someone gets symptoms. But a personal warning here: doctors aren't kidding about the dangers of side effects. I've never taken hydroxychloroquine, but it's being paired with azithromycin, one of the world's most prescribed antibiotics, which has proven safe to use for hundreds of millions of people. But I took it once and ended up with an allergic reaction that forced me to spend a night in an ER. Would I ask for remdesivir if I got really sick? Yes. Would I trust it to save me? No. And that's about all we've got from a therapeutic standpoint. So, unless scientists find a treatment that really knocks out COVID-19, something that might never happen, or an effective vaccine, I highly doubt we'll return to normal soon. On the other hand, if they find either and they can be mass-produced and distributed across the globe quickly, we could see the economy roar back to life. Hello, V. And the news about vaccines should make us cautiously optimistic. But no matter what President Trump says or how great Operation Warp Speed turns out to be, it will be a miracle if you can go to your local drugstore to get a vaccine before next year. Without treatment or vaccines, what happens to the travel industry, to hotels and airlines? I have friends who are being so cautious. They have driven from Miami to San Diego and Miami to Jackson Hole and slept in their cars on the way. It's probably safer to take a plane with proper precautions, but fear drives the decision. Can you blame them? What happens to restaurants? I'm not one of the more fearful people, but you can pay me to eat at one indoors. For the brave or foolhardy who will eat indoors, how will restaurants survive at 50% capacity, which is probably the best case scenario? Even for businesses that have survived so far, how long can they continue to pay rent with less traffic? If commercial rents crash, the multiplier effect could be terrible, possibly depressing all rental properties and even home values. We saw the impact real estate can have on people and the economy during the Great Recession. What happens to New York if people are afraid to take public transportation or go into stores? What happens to LA if movies, TV, and other entertainment can't restart? What happens to Nashville if live music disappears? What happens to Orlando if the theme parks stay closed? And what happens to Texas and North Dakota if oil prices stay depressed? On the other hand, parts of the country that don't get hit as hard by the virus could do just fine. Caveat number two: if schools and colleges don't open in the fall, get ready for worse than a rocky road. Some colleges have already freaked out and are staying online in the fall, a move that will be catastrophic for university towns that will face full economic depression. Other schools are approaching the crisis more rationally, preparing to open as safely as possible. They're planning on extensive testing, making sure everyone gets a flu vaccine, and taking tons of other precautionary measures, from hand sanitizer everywhere to masks when needed and special care for older teachers. They may also need liability protection because all you need is one person to catch the virus and sue a school for opening too quickly for the whole house of cards to come crashing down. A final caveat. Maybe the summer effect is a thing after all and we'll have a respite. But Singapore and Guayaquil, Ecuador, the two largest cities at sea level near the equator, have year-round summer-like temperatures, but that hasn't stopped them from having a large number of cases per capita. As the southern hemisphere moves into winter, cases are soaring in countries like Brazil, which seems likely to soon catch Russia as the country with the second most cases. CDC Director Robert Redfield is warning that when the southern hemisphere is over, I suspect it will reground itself in the north. In closing, printing money might keep us afloat for a while, but go too far, and inflation could give the economy a double whammy. And deficit spending may be the lesser of two evils right now, but saddling our children and grandchildren with crushing burdens of debt is not a legacy I'd be proud of. I hate cliches and some of the more banal platitudes offered by celebrities in public service announcements and Zoom gatherings have made me want to throw up. But we are all in this together and need to respect everybody else's rights. If you screw up and aren't careful, I could be the one who gets sick and dies. Worse for you, it could be your mom or your grandmother. And if it keeps spreading, the economy will take more hits, and your job and everybody else's could be at risk.